Hey guys, Frank Simon with Quest 365. I did beat my cousin a couple times in a 3D tournament, so that pretty much makes me a pro, and today I'm gonna show you how I build the most accurate arrow on the face of the earth.
Roll the music. That was awesome.
So some of the overlooked things that people sometimes miss about having an accurate arrow is your arrow spine. This specific arrow that I'm using today is a Black Eagle Rampage, and it's a 300 spine. I know with my draw length and my draw weight and the point weight that I'm gonna use, I'm gonna need a pretty stiff arrow. You know, if I look at my spine chart, it's probably gonna tell me I need like a 350 spine, but I know I'm loading the front of this arrow up. I'm not really concerned with FOC. I don't know what my percentage is. I've never measured it. But to get this arrow to the weight that I want, I have to put a lot of weight in the front of the arrow. So I have to go down in my spine chart. So I shoot a 300 spine because I need that extra stiffness in my arrow, knowing the fletch, the point weight, the knock, all that stuff. I know I'm pretty much gonna need a 300 spine arrow. The outsert that I'm gonna use is this Ethics Archery. It's an aluminum post with a stainless steel sleeve on the outside, and the fletch I'm gonna use is this tack driver. 2.25. That's really a relatively new vein, and I just put them on some arrows a couple weeks ago, but I've been shooting. I really like that because you can get away with a smaller fletch and it still steer your arrow really good, even good enough to shoot fixed blade broadheads because they're super stiff and there's no play, and the fletch that you have is more effective on the back of your arrows, so you can get away with less. So once you get your arrows and you know what spine you're gonna use, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is decide which end of this shaft you want to cut off of. If you get a if you get a 1000 straightness tolerance arrow, this isn't as big of a deal. Honestly, these arrows are already cut to my length, but I'm just gonna go through. If you do go with like a 3000s or 5 or 6000s, this can be a big thing and it can help you be more accurate. But basically what you wanna do is get an arrow spinner, and you can even pull the knock off, get an arrow spinner, and you can look at both ends of this shaft and you can kind of tell which one's spinning out. See, this one doesn't have very much at all. Literally, it's a 1000 straightness tolerance. But if there is any movement, it's on this end down here. So what you're gonna wanna do is look at both ends. This one looks perfect. This one's got a little bit of movement. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna cut off the back side of this shaft so you have the straightest part of it that you're gonna shoot with. I didn't do that with these because I was in a hurry, and I just ordered them cut already. So if you have an arrow saw and you want to go through each one of your arrows, you can pull them off. This one right here, I'm looking at it, if I can get the knock out of here. See, like that arrow right there is absolutely perfect on both sides. That one I just cut it off and not worry about getting too technical about it. So you can decide which side you want to cut your length from, and that can help you be more accurate. So the first thing I'm actually going to do with these arrows is I'm going to put the outsert in. This Ethics outsert, this post, is designed so that you can cut it off, and it's a little bit customizable to whatever weight you want. If you just put it in there whole, you're going to have, it's going to weigh 120 grains. So this stainless sleeve is 60, and the aluminum pin is 60 as well. But what I'm gonna do, well, if I can get it to stand up there. What I'm gonna do is I want this whole thing to weigh 100 grains together. So I'm gonna take it over and cut it off. I know about where my others are. It's about halfway between this second notch right here. I'm gonna cut it off to be exactly 100 grains so that I know that all my outserts weigh the same and I'm building on a solid foundation. So I got those inserts cut off. They all three weigh exactly 100 grains, like 0.2 of a grain difference, which you're never gonna get any better than that. So the next thing I need to do to this arrow is I need to make sure the ends are square. It's easy when you're cutting this for the shaft to get bent or bowed a little bit and this be just a little bit out of square. So I've got this G5 ASD, stands for Arrow Squaring Device. I'm just gonna set that in there. I'm gonna square the point end, but I'm also gonna square the back end, the knock end. That's honestly most important. A lot of times you think of the point end, but really the most important one to make sure is the knock, because as your bow's going off, you gotta think about it. If that's not square, it's hitting your arrow at a different place around it every single time. Or I say that, it's hitting every arrow differently. So you gotta make sure that your back end, your knock end is perfectly square on every one of your arrows. So I'm just gonna square these up real quick. That's good for that. So I squared all these arrows up and I'm basically just cleaning the ends, making sure everything's good. I'll take a Q-tip and swab out the inside. But the next thing you want to do is you're getting ready to put the insert in the end of this arrow. Now these Ethics systems, this is 204, it's made to fit it perfectly, but this sleeve is designed to be really tight. And it's actually designed so you have to sand the OD of the shaft a little bit, which sounds like a really big problem, but it's really not. Sand that down a little bit. You still want it to be snug, but it really sticks on there really good. What you want to do is get the finest sandpaper you can have, and it's a little trick that I do sometimes. When I'm really feeling lazy, I'll take a drill. Obviously, you don't want to get carried away here, and you don't want to crush your arrow in the back, but I'll just, I'll turn that the right direction. That'll be important. I don't even clamp it on the arrow itself. I clamp it right on the knock, and then take the sandpaper and just run that for a second. Obviously, you don't want to get carried away. You just want to take a little bit off, and then you'll check it and see how it fits. See, I still got to take more. It seems like it's taking a lot off, but it's really not. And if you use this drill method, it takes it off really evenly around the arrow, so you're not worried about being high on one side and low on the other. So now that I've got that sanded, I'm ready to move on to gluing these bad boys in. I'll just stick it in a little bit. I like to slide a field tip in the end of the post so I can have something to hold it by. And I use this insert weld, arrow insert. It's just some stuff I found online. I think pretty much any high impact glue is going to do about the same. I just put it around, put a little band around the places where that'll hold the glue, and she just fits right in there. Now this stuff does happen pretty quick, so you kind of got to be in a hurry with it, to be honest. And then I'll just sit there and spin it and make sure and push on it until it locks, and in just a second it'll lock up and it'll be there. And then with the excess glue that's there, let's take this foot and push it on over, let it lock, and it'll be ready to go as well. That one's a little loose, but it'll be okay. Maybe took a little bit too much off when I was sanding, but it's still locked in there, tight as it can be now. And that arrow, really, you need to give it some time to cure, but you can really shoot that thing now if you wanted to. So you got your insert, outsert, whatever you want to call it, system on your arrow, and next you want to decide what kind of fletch you're going to put on there, whether you're going to run 3 fletch, 4 fletch, how you want to do that. This is one of my finished arrows. I like 4 fletch, honestly, because of the clearance I can get with my rest, and I can get my sight down closer to the arrow. That way I can back up and practice further. That's honestly the main reason I do it, but I've had good luck with it, so I always run 4 fletch. What I'm going to do next, And to be honest, I don't always do this. I'm doing this just for this video. I've done it before and it does work, but when you put a lot of weight out on the end of your arrow, it has a tendency to break the spine down. And that, obviously higher FOC has its benefits, but this is one of its drawbacks. Sometimes it's harder to tune because the spine of your arrow, it's taxing it a lot more because of the weight that you have out on the end of your arrow. So if you want things to be perfect, and honestly in this case, it's not really necessary. I built a bunch of these arrows and didn't do this. Another benefit of 4 fletch is you can knock tune your arrows. You have 4 different places where with 3 fletch you have 3, but before I actually fletch this arrow, I'm gonna knock tune this thing bare shaft. So I've taken, you can see it, and put electrical tape on the back of this arrow till it weighs the exact same as one of my fletch shafts. And you want to do that so your spine stays the same. Anything you put on the back of your arrow is going to stiffen your spine, and anything you put on the front is going to break it down or weaken it. So this arrow is going to act exactly like it's going to after I fletch it. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it down there to the target and shoot it through paper. I know my bow's tuned. If your bow's not tuned, you don't have a prayer for this. It's really very, very technical, and it's pretty unnecessary in all reality. If you're not a very, very good shot, you're not gonna be able to shoot the difference anyways. But I'm gonna go down there and do it for the video and just show you how to do it. Basically, I'm gonna shoot it. If I tear knock right, basically I'm just gonna index the shaft a little bit, shoot it again until I get that knock coming and tracing right behind the point, so I know that this bare shaft is coming out of my bow straight. And if you get it to that point where everything's coming out straight, you'll pretty much know that your arrow is gonna fly really well and it's gonna be as accurate as it possibly can be. So I'm gonna go down there and we'll film it. I'll show you how I like to do it. It's really not technical. It's just shooting it through paper and indexing it until it's coming out of the bow straight. So as you can see right there, my point came through right here and my knock came through up here. So I'm tearing just a little bit knock high, which is better than tearing knock low, but it should be coming just perfect once I get it like I need it to. So I'm gonna index that arrow a little bit and shoot it one more time and see where that one ends up. Pretty crazy, that worked pretty much perfectly, but I just, that was my first tear, and then I indexed it a little bit towards me, and it tracked pretty much perfectly. You can see where the point went through, and the knock pretty much followed it. So that's how you knock tune an arrow. That's really technical, but if you really want to have arrows that hit the same place, that's a really good way to do it, because you know your spine is consistent with every arrow. So I've got this arrow knock tuned. I know everything's coming out perfectly and exactly like I want it. So next, all I got left to do is just fletch this thing up and I'm gonna have an arrow. I just use a Bitzenberger. I got it from my grandpa and it was free and plus it works great. You obviously always have to put your vane in the same exact place. Through messing with everything, with my draw length, with my face and everything, I always put it the 3rd mark from the back. I just always put it in there. You gotta check. Make sure your primer pin is working right. Just run that primer down the back of there. Give it a couple seconds. And then you want to put just a little bit of glue on the back. Sometimes I'll just dab it in there a little bit. And then I found out, honestly, less is more when it comes to glue. But what you want is to make sure you have no air pockets in there, because that vene's pretty stiff and it doesn't like it, and that's when you'll get a lot of problems with your fletches not wanting to stick like they should. So I'll just put a small, even coating on the whole thing. I got it set, stick it on there, stick it to it, and I'll just hold it for a few seconds. I like to take a rag, a Kleenex, or a Q-tip or something like that, run it down the side of that vane, and once I turn it over, I'll run it down the other side, but that just cleans off any excess glue and ensures that my fletches look as good as they can. So I've held it, just pull that bad boy off, turn it 45 degrees in this case if you're running a 4 fletch, Go through that process 3 more times and you'll have an arrow done. Well, now that I got the final fletches put on this arrow, it's pretty much together and ready to go shoot. I know it's easy to get confused with, but if you're building your own arrows, make sure that you get the right spine. If you're gonna put a lot of weight on the front of the arrow, you're probably gonna have to go down in your spine chart. Just make sure you get the right spine and you'll be building on a really solid foundation. And from that point, it's just putting everything together. It's definitely worth it to me to build my own arrows because I know what went into them. I know they're all the same weight, all the same straightness, everything that went into it. I know that I'm gonna have a really accurate arrow, and I really like the results that I get from it. So if you'd like to follow us on Instagram, quest_365. Obviously, we'd love it if you liked the video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hopefully we got some more things coming, and we're just gonna start ramping it up with this summer leading into hunting season. So thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully you picked up on something or you enjoyed the video.